High Marshal Kravac stood on the bridge of the Dominion, his flagship representing the might of the Xeraxian Empire. The massive vessel led a fleet of 300 warships, their sleek hulls gleaming under the distant starlight. They had come to subjugate yet another primitive world, a routine operation that barely deserved his attention. "Status report," Kravac demanded, his scaled fingers drumming against the command chair's crystalline armrest. "All systems optimal, High Marshal," First Officer Vex responded, her four eyes focused on the holographic displays. "The target planet's defenses are negligible. Their technology is centuries behind ours." Kravac allowed himself a small smile. The Xeraxian Empire had ruled the galaxy for millennia, their technological superiority unchallenged. This would be another simple conquest, another world to add to their ever-expanding territory. The smile vanished as the ship's sensors suddenly screamed in alarm. Space itself seemed to tear open before them, a massive ripple in reality that made even veteran officers flinch. Through this impossible breach emerged something that shouldn't exist, a warship of clearly human design. "Impossible," Kravac whispered, rising from his chair. "Humans are a broken species. We crushed their resistance centuries ago." The vessel before them defied everything the Empire knew about human capabilities. It was massive, easily twice the size of the Dominion, its hull a deep obsidian that seemed to drink in the starlight. No elegant curves or ornate designs marked its surface, just brutal, efficient angles that spoke of pure military function. "High Marshal," Vex called out, her voice trembling, "we're detecting energy readings off the scale. Their weapon systems, we've never seen anything like this." Before Kravac could respond, a transmission cut through their communications, bypassing every security protocol as if they didn't exist. A hologram materialized on the bridge, a human female wearing a simple black uniform with no insignia. Her eyes held the cold calculation of a predator. "This is Admiral Jasmine Winter of the Earth Defense Force vessel, Retribution," she announced, her voice carrying an authority that made Kravac's scales bristle. "Your empire took everything from us. You thought we were broken, you were wrong." Kravac snarled, his pride overwhelming his caution. "You dare threaten the Xeraxian Empire, we will crush you as we did before. All ships open fire." The Empire's fleet responded as one, thousands of energy weapons unleashing their fury upon the human vessel. The barrage would have annihilated a small moon, yet when the energy dissipated, the Retribution floated untouched, protected by shields that hadn't even flickered under the assault. "A poor choice," Admiral Winter stated flatly, "but an expected one." The Retribution's response was devastating in its precision. No grand display of firepower, no massive energy beams. Instead, thousands of small objects detached from its hull, each no larger than a shuttle. They moved with impossible speed and coordination, weaving through the Empire's defensive fire as if it were choreographed. "Drone swarm detected," Vex shouted, panic evident in her voice. "They're breaching our shields as if they don't exist." Kravac watched in horror as ship after ship in his fleet began to go dark. The drones didn't destroy them, they simply shut them down, bypassing centuries of technological advancement as if dealing with children's toys. Years of training finally overcame his shock. "Defensive pattern Delta, all ships fall back and regroup," he ordered, but it was too late. The drones had already reached the Dominion. Kravac felt his mighty flagship shudder as systems began failing one by one. The last thing he saw before emergency power failed was Admiral Winter's hologram, her expression not one of triumph, but of grim satisfaction. "Remember this moment, High Marshal," she said softly. "Remember that humanity didn't just survive, we evolved. And now we're going to show your empire exactly what that means." As darkness claimed the bridge of the Dominion, Kravac realized a terrible truth. The Empire hadn't been hunting primitive worlds. They had been waking giants. And now one of those giants had returned, carrying centuries of advancement and a very long memory. The age of Xeraxian dominance was over. The era of humanity had begun. The emergency lights cast an eerie red glow across the Dominion's bridge as backup systems slowly sputtered to life. High Marshal Kravac pulled himself up from the deck, his pride wounded more than his body. Around him, his crew worked frantically to restore power to their crippled flagship. "Status of the fleet," he demanded, though he dreaded the answer. First Officer Vex's voice was hollow. 247 ships completely disabled, High Marshal. The remaining vessels report critical systems failure. We're dead in space." Through the main viewport, Kravax watched the human vessel Retribution hover among his defeated fleet like a dark sentinel. Its swarm of drones had returned to their host ship, their work complete. Not a single Empire vessel had been destroyed, just rendered helpless. The message was clear. Humanity could have annihilated them but chose not to. The hologram of Admiral Winter flickered back to life on the bridge, but this time she wasn't alone. Beside her stood a tall, cybernetically enhanced human male, his silver-streaked black hair and weathered face suggesting both age and authority. "High Marshal," Winter gestured to her companion, "allow me to introduce Director Marcus Chen of the Earth Defense Intelligence Division. He has something you need to hear." Chen's augmented eyes glowed faintly as he spoke, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "For 300 years, we let your empire believe they had broken us. That deception was our greatest weapon." Holographic displays sprang to life around the bridge, showing images that made Kravax's blood run cold. Hidden shipyards in asteroid belts, vast underground cities on supposedly dead worlds, and armies of advanced combat drones. All far beyond anything the Empire possessed. "While you celebrated your supposed victory," Chen continued, "humanity went underground. We rebuilt. We evolved. Every piece of technology your ships encountered today was developed in secret, tested against your own advancements which we monitored through a network of spies you never detected." First Officer Vex stepped forward, her professional composure cracking. "But our intelligence networks, our surveillance systems, were compromised centuries ago," Winter cut in. "Those primitive human settlements you've been monitoring, carefully maintained facades, the rebellions you've crushed, calculated distractions." Kravax felt the deck shifting under his feet, and not just from the damaged systems. Everything he knew, everything the Empire had believed about their dominance was unraveling. A new hologram appeared, a tactical display of the galaxy. Hundreds of points of light began blinking into existence, each representing a human fleet or military installation that had remained hidden from Imperial eyes. "Right now," Chen explained, "human forces are moving throughout Imperial space. Your outlying colonies are already under our protection. Your slave worlds are being liberated. The Empire's age of unchallenged dominance ends today." Kravax's claws dug into his palm. "You expect me to believe that humans, a species we conquered, managed all this without detection?" Winter's smile was cold. "Your Empire's greatest weakness was always its arrogance. You never considered that your defeated enemies might not just survive, but thrive in secret. You never looked for advancement in the shadows because you were so convinced of your superiority." The tactical display shifted, showing real-time footage of human fleets emerging throughout the galaxy. Each vessel was unique in design, but shared the same devastating technological edge that had crippled Kravax's fleet. "Your empire took everything from us," Chen's voice hardened. "Our homes, our families, our future. But in doing so, you gave us something far more dangerous, an unshakable unity and an unwavering purpose." Suddenly, the Retribution's massive form began to change. Sections of its hull shifted and transformed, revealing layers of weaponry that had remained hidden. It wasn't just a warship, it was a mobile fortress, capable of facing an entire Imperial armada. "This vessel," Winter explained, "carries within it 3 centuries of human innovation, powered by technologies your scientists haven't even theorized yet. And it's just one of thousands we've built while you celebrated your imaginary victory." Kravax watched as more human ships began emerging from hyperspace around his crippled fleet. Each one represented a nightmare the Empire had never prepared for, an enemy that had used defeat as a catalyst for unprecedented advancement. "You have a choice, High Marshal." Winter's voice carried no threat, only certainty. "You can accept that the galaxy has changed and work with us to build a better future, or you can cling to your Empire's pride and watch it crumble around you. Either way, humanity is done hiding." As if to emphasize her point, the drones around the Retribution began to move again, forming complex patterns in space. A display of coordination and technology that made the Empire's best achievements look primitive in comparison. The message was clear. The hunted had become the hunters, and the price of the Empire's pride would be its very foundation of power. The holographic projections aboard the Retribution painted a stark picture of humanity's hidden history. Admiral Winter and Director Chen led High Marshal Kravax through a carefully curated demonstration of how a supposedly broken species had transformed itself into an unstoppable force. "You see, High Marshal," Director Chen gestured to a holographic timeline. The day your empire conquered Earth wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. While your forces celebrated victory, survivors were already gathering in the deep underground bunkers we'd prepared. The images shifted, showing vast subterranean cities carved into Earth's crust. Massive facilities where scientists worked tirelessly, their laboratories protected by kilometers of rock and advanced stealth technology. Operation Phoenix, Admiral Winter explained, her voice carrying a hint of pride. The most ambitious project in human history. While your empire stripped our surface clean, we rebuilt beneath your feet. Every resource you took from Earth's surface was matched by what we mined from deeper deposits you never detected. Kravax watched in stunned silence as the timeline advanced, showing the rapid evolution of human technology. What had started as desperate survival measures quickly became a technological revolution unprecedented in galactic history. Your greatest mistake, Chen continued, was assuming that crushing our military meant crushing our spirit. Instead, you gave humanity something it had never had before: absolute unity. Every nation, every faction, every competing interest was suddenly focused on a single goal: survival and advancement. The holograms showed networks of hidden colonies spreading throughout the galaxy, each one a carefully concealed center of innovation. Human ships, designed to appear primitive on the surface, had secretly carried advanced technology and refugees to these sanctuaries. First Officer Vex, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. "But our patrols, our monitoring stations." Winter smiled. "We're watching exactly what we wanted them to see. Those primitive settlements you monitored, carefully maintained facades. The real colonies were hidden in dimensional pockets, protected by technology your sensors couldn't even detect." New images appeared: massive shipyards hidden within gas giants, research stations concealed in artificial pocket dimensions, and training facilities where generations of humans had prepared for this moment. The quantum fold technology alone took us 50 years to perfect, Chen explained, pointing to a demonstration of how human ships could slip between dimensions. But it gave us the perfect hiding place, a space within space where we could build and grow without detection. Kravax's scales bristled as he realized the full scope of the deception. The rebellions we crushed, the resistance movements. All calculated distractions, Winter confirmed. Each one designed to reinforce your belief in our weakness while drawing attention away from our real advancements. Every time you crushed a rebellion, you proved to your empire that humans were still primitive, still beaten. The holographic display shifted again, showing the true extent of human military power. Fleets of advanced warships emerged from hidden docks, each vessel incorporating technologies that made imperial ships look obsolete. But our greatest achievement, Chen said, his augmented eyes glowing intensely, wasn't military. It was cultural. We transformed ourselves from a divided species into something new. Every child born in the last 3 centuries grew up understanding their role in humanity's resurrection. The images showed generations of humans training, studying, and preparing. Schools where children learned advanced physics alongside battle tactics. Universities where scientists worked across disciplines to solve problems the empire hadn't even discovered yet. Your empire ruled through fear and division, Winter added. We built our new civilization on unity and purpose. Every human, whether they lived in our hidden cities or maintained our surface deceptions, knew they were part of something greater. A new hologram materialized, a real-time strategic display of human forces moving throughout the galaxy. Hidden bases activated, revealing massive military installations the Empire had never detected. Stealth fleets decloaked in system after system, each one positioned to protect former human worlds. The age of hiding is over, Chen declared, his voice firm. Humanity isn't just emerging from the shadows, we're bringing a new era of galactic civilization with us. One built on cooperation and advancement, not conquest and subjugation. Kravax watched as more data streamed across the displays: technological breakthroughs, scientific achievements, and military capabilities that shattered every assumption the Empire had held about human potential. "You didn't just fail to break us," Winter concluded, her eyes fixed on the High Marshal. "You forced us to become something far more powerful than we might have been otherwise. The question now is, will your empire learn from its mistakes, or will it cling to its pride until nothing remains?" The weight of 3 centuries of carefully orchestrated deception and advancement hung in the air. Humanity hadn't just survived, they had used their apparent defeat as a catalyst for transformation. And now, the galaxy would never be the same. A shockwave of change rippled through Imperial space as humanity's hidden fleets revealed themselves. On the bridge of the Retribution, High Marshal Kravax received report after report of Imperial strongholds facing forces they couldn't comprehend. The Centauri sector has gone dark, First Officer Vex announced, her voice trembling. The Orion Defense Fleet. They're reporting complete systems failure. The same pattern as our ships. Admiral Winter watched the tactical display with calm satisfaction. Right now, specialized strike teams are deploying throughout your territory. We're not here to destroy the Empire, Marshal. We're here to free it. The holographic displays showed scenes from across the galaxy. Human vessels emerging from dimensional pockets, their advanced technology making Imperial defenses obsolete. But they weren't destroying Imperial ships, they were systematically disabling them. You're watching Operation Avalanche, Director Chen explained, his cybernetic implants pulsing with data. The culmination of 3 centuries of planning. Each strike team has specific targets, military installations, slave processing centers, governance hubs. Kravax's claws dug into his command chair as he watched his empire's power structure crumble. You'll create chaos. Billions depend on Imperial infrastructure. Which is precisely why we're not destroying it, Winter countered. Watch carefully, Marshal, this is how real power operates. The tactical display shifted, focusing on a major Imperial colony world. Human ships had neutralized its orbital defenses, but instead of invasion forces, they deployed massive humanitarian vessels. Advanced medical facilities, food distribution centers, and temporary governance structures were being established with mechanical precision. Commander Talia, Winter activated a comm channel. Status report from New Eden Colony. A hologram materialized, a battle-hardened human woman in powered armor. Liberation proceeding ahead of schedule, Admiral. Imperial forces neutralized, minimal casualties. Civilian population is responding better than expected. The display showed crowds of various alien species, former Imperial subjects, watching in awe as human medical teams treated the sick, engineering crews restored damaged infrastructure, and relief workers distributed supplies. Your empire ruled through fear and scarcity, Chen said to Kravax. We studied your methods carefully. You kept worlds dependent on Imperial supply lines, maintained artificial shortages to ensure compliance. We're not just breaking those chains, we're showing your subjects a better way. New reports flooded in. Imperial worlds were surrendering without resistance as news spread of the humans' approach. Many of the Empire's own military commanders, seeing the futility of resistance and the humanity's constructive approach, were ordering their forces to stand down. Sector 7 reporting in, a voice announced. General Zarax has surrendered the entire quadrant. He's requesting cooperation with humanitarian efforts. Winter nodded approvingly. Your own people are starting to understand, Marshal. This isn't about revenge, it's about transformation. The tactical display updated again, showing the strategic situation. Nearly 40% of Imperial space had already been secured by human forces, but more remarkable was the complete absence of civilian casualties. The Empire's military might was being surgically dismantled, while its civilian infrastructure was simultaneously being reinforced and improved. Your prison worlds are being converted to rehabilitation centers, Chen continued. Your slave processing facilities are becoming education hubs. The very infrastructure you used to oppress is being repurposed to elevate. Kravax watched as more Imperial commanders followed Zarax's example. The carefully maintained myth of Imperial invincibility had shattered, replaced by the undeniable evidence of human superiority, not just in military might, but in vision and purpose. Marshal, Vex interrupted, her voice urgent. The Imperial capital, they're requesting direct communication with the human leadership. The High Council, they're proposing immediate cessation of all hostilities. Winter and Chen exchanged knowing looks. 3 centuries of preparation, Chen mused, and it takes less than a day to rewrite the galaxy's power structure. Because we didn't just build better weapons, Winter added. We built better solutions. Your empire never understood that true power isn't about controlling people, it's about empowering them. A new message flashed across the tactical display. The Imperial High Council had officially surrendered. The Zeraxian Empire, which had dominated the galaxy for millennia, had fallen not to destructive force but to something far more powerful, the demonstration of a better way. Now, High Marshal, Winter turned to Kravex, you have a choice to make. You can be part of what comes next, a new galactic society built on cooperation and advancement. Or you can cling to the ashes of your empire's pride. What will it be? The weight of history hung in the silence that followed. The galaxy waited to see if the Empire's remnants would accept humanity's offered hand or fade into extinction, clinging to their obsolete beliefs until the end. 1 month after humanity's emergence, the imperial capital world of Zeraxis Prime hosted an unprecedented gathering. In the grand chamber where imperial edicts once echoed, representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered to witness the birth of a new galactic order. High Marshal Kravex, no longer wearing the ornate armor of his former station, stood beside Admiral Winter and Director Chen as they addressed the assembled delegates. The chamber's ancient halls, once symbols of imperial might, now hummed with advanced human technology that had transformed the very architecture itself. 3 centuries ago, Winter began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber, humanity faced a choice, extinction or evolution. We chose to evolve. Today, we offer the galaxy the same choice. Holographic displays activated throughout the chamber, showing the transformation already sweeping across former imperial space. Where prison worlds once stood, universities now flourished. Former slave processing centers had become medical research facilities. The Empire's machinery of oppression had been reformed into tools of progress. Your Empire taught us our greatest lesson, Director Chen addressed the assembled delegates, his augmented eyes scanning the crowd. Unity isn't achieved through force, it's built through shared purpose. Every world, every species, every individual has potential waiting to be unlocked. First Officer Vex, who had chosen to embrace the changes, stepped forward with new data. Preliminary reports show a 300% increase in productivity across reformed worlds. Medical advancement has accelerated by decades. Educational access has reached 90% of the population. The statistics continued, each one painting a picture of unprecedented growth and development. But more striking was the footage from various worlds, former imperial subjects and their one-time overlords working together, sharing knowledge, building something new. The Galactic Cooperative, Winter announced, revealing humanity's vision for the future. Not an empire, not a federation, but a true partnership of worlds, each maintaining their uniqueness while contributing to our collective advancement. Kravex stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of personal transformation. I was wrong about humanity, we all were. They could have destroyed us, but instead they showed us a better path. I've seen their hidden cities, their advanced academies, their training centers. They didn't just advance technologically, they evolved culturally. The chamber erupted in discussion as Winter activated a final holographic display, a massive engineering project unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The Transdimensional Academy, she explained. A learning center existing between realities, accessible from every world. Here, the knowledge of all species will be shared freely. But more importantly, Chen added, it represents our commitment to transparency. The age of secrets is over. No more hidden fleets, no more shadow governments. Everything humanity has achieved will be shared. A series of lights began pulsing through the chamber as world after world signaled their acceptance of the new order. Former imperial governors, rebel leaders, and independent worlds all recognizing the dawn of a new era. The question was never about defeating the Empire, Winter continued. It was about transcending it. Every world that joins the cooperative will have access to our technology, our educational systems, our medical advancements. But more importantly, they'll have a voice in shaping our collective future. The holographic displays shifted one final time, showing the vast network of human achievements about to be shared with the galaxy. Quantum fold technology, dimensional engineering, advanced AI systems, and countless other innovations that would transform society. 300 years ago, Chen's voice carried a note of reflection, we went into the darkness believing we were alone. We emerged understanding that true strength lies in unity. The Empire taught us how not to rule. Now we invite you all to learn with us how to grow. Vex, who had been monitoring the responses, turned to Winter with amazement. Admiral, we're receiving acceptance signals from 98% of known worlds. Even the Outer Rim territories are pledging support. Winter smiled, but her eyes remained serious. Because they understand what we learned in the shadows, the universe is too vast, too complex for any one species to face alone. The age of empires is over. The age of cooperation has begun. The chamber's ancient walls seemed to pulse with new energy as representatives began mixing, former enemies engaging in eager discussion about joint projects and shared resources. Humanity's emergence hadn't just reshaped the galaxy's power structure, it had fundamentally altered its understanding of what power truly meant. Remember this moment, Kravax addressed his fellow former Imperial officials. Not as the day the Empire fell, but as the day we all rose together. Humanity didn't conquer us, they awakened us. As the historic gathering continued, ships across the galaxy were already beginning to implement the changes. The Retribution, once a symbol of humanity's hidden might, was being transformed into a mobile learning center. The very weapons that had disabled the Imperial fleet were being repurposed into tools for exploration and discovery. A new age had dawned, born not from the ashes of destruction but from the light of shared wisdom. Humanity had emerged from the shadows not as conquerors, but as teachers ready to share the greatest lesson they had learned during their long exile. True power lies not in domination, but in the ability to lift others up alongside yourself.